Hello there. Dr. Bill Crawford here, psychologist, speaker, author of 7 books, host of 2 PBS specials. Here again to bring you another tip on how to help you create the life you want. Specifically, how to use my life from the top of the mind philosophy to bring more clarity, confidence, creativity into everything you do. Today I want to look at a subject around questions. I saw this cover of the Harvard Business Review recently, March 2018. It talked about questions and the power of questions, and the question it asked was, why are questions more important than answers? And I think that's great because for those of you who follow my life from the top of the mind philosophy, you know that I really focus a lot on questions. And the reason I focus on them is because of the science behind what questions do. And while I love the article in the Harvard Business Review, it really didn't touch the science behind questions. Why are they more important than answers? So I want to bring you that information today so that you can use the questions that you want to kind of create the life you want and be more influential with others. So again, remember what I like to do is look at the science behind it, and that has to do, frankly, with how the brain processes information. For those of you, again, who follow my life from the top of the mind philosophy, you know we got these 3 parts of the brain. Lower part of the brain is called the brainstem. This is where our fight or flight responses are located. Upper 80% of the brain is called the neocortex. This is where we have access to our clarity, confidence, creativity, compassion. This is where our best decisions come from. The middle part of the brain is called the limbic system, right between the ears. That is the scanner, processor, router part of the brain. It's the gatekeeper part of the brain. So what it does, it filters data, it interprets data, and it routes it either down to the brainstem or up to the neocortex. And one of the things that the limbic system uses to determine whether it sends data down to the brainstem or up to the neocortex are the kind of questions we ask. So when we find ourselves feeling stressed or anxious or frustrated or worried or depressed or annoyed or angry, it's very common for us to go, man, what is wrong with these people, my spouse, the world, the politics, my boss, my job, my kids? What is wrong with these people? This driver. Very understandable. We have a tendency to look for someone to blame for our feelings. And the question we ask is, what is wrong with them? That is what's called a brainstem, or what I like to call a BS question, because what it does is it sends us down to the brainstem. Now, if we're in a fight or flight situation where we either need to fight something or run away from somebody, hey, that's a great question to ask. Why is this person coming at me with a gun? Why is this person driving the wrong way on the freeway? Great brainstem question, because we need to react almost without thinking in order to survive. If you'll notice how few, if any, of the situations we find ourselves in on a daily basis are truly fight or flight in nature. In other words, we can't really deal with them from a fight or flight perspective. And yet, if we get thrown down into that lower 20% of the brain, that's the only thing this part of the brain knows how to do. So given that we can't fight it, or given that we can't run away from so many of the aspects that we're dealing with on a regular basis, we feel powerless, we feel confused, we feel stuck, we feel more angry, stressed, frustrated, depressed, worried, irritated, and we look for something else to blame or that other person to blame again, and we get caught in a cycle of that lower 20% of the brain. So, if we want to access this upper 80% of the brain, where we have more clarity, confidence, creativity, compassion, where we're able to make really good decisions, we've got to ask what I call neocortex questions. If we want to access the neocortex, and the brains and the limbic system is using questions often to determine whether it sends data down to the brainstem or up to the neocortex, we want to make sure we're not asking BS questions, brainstem questions, but what I call neocortex questions. Now, in my seminars, in my book, I give you 4 very powerful neocortex questions you can ask anywhere, anytime, that I think will help you become more purposeful in how you're feeling and thinking and how you want to use them in your life. Number 1, am I feeling this on purpose? Have I chosen to feel this way? Number 2, how's it working for me? Is this helping me create the life I want? Number 3, is this defining me the way I want to be defined? The statement I want to make about who I am is that I react to certain people in situations like this? And number 4, I love number 4, would I teach and or recommend this way of being to someone I love? These are neocortex questions because if we're feeling stressed or angry or frustrated or worried or depressed or annoyed, chances are haven't chosen to do that. We haven't decided, I really want to feel really stressed now. It's probably not really working for us because it's not helping us deal with the situation. I don't think we want to be defined as someone who reacts to life like this. And, I'm pretty clear. We wouldn't recommend or teach this to someone I love. So if we can ask those kind of neocortex questions, rather than what's wrong with them, or some people say, what's wrong with me, man? I should be dealing with this better, Why do I let these people get to me? Again, when we're asking what's wrong with them or what's wrong with me, that's brainstem questions, so we don't want to do that. If we will use questions that are about the neocortex, about the future, anytime you want to deal with someone and resolve a conflict, I encourage you not to go and ask questions about the past. Who did what? Why did you do this? What were you thinking? But ask what I call neocortex questions about the future and the solution. Hey, how do we want to do this differently in the future? Knowing what we know now, how would we do this differently? Based on what you're wanting, how can I help you achieve this? See, those are those neocortex questions. It engages that upper 80% of the brain. So that's why questions are more important than answers, because they engage a very specific part of the brain, and we want to have as much influence as possible over what part of the brain we are accessing. Now, this is what I do. I get to go around the world helping people access this upper 80% of the brain, teaching them my system for living life from the top of the mind. I teach them, number one, how to shift from the brainstem to the neocortex. I give you a model for how to do that. It actually spells brain. It actually also changes the chemical makeup of your body from adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol, those stress chemicals, to serotonin and endorphins, the chemicals that help us feel better and think clearer. I then give you another model for how to stay there, how to live there, so you don't find yourself falling back down into the brainstem. Then I give you a model for how to deal with other people, especially those people who are resistant to what you're saying. How do you get them to shift from their resistant brain to their receptive brain so they actually hear and understand what you're wanting them to know? This is what I do. If you want me to come and do this for your organization, your church, your school, just let me know. All you got to do is go to my website, billcrawfordphd.com, or just Google Bill Crawford, Ph.D. I'll come up on the first page. Hit the contact button, let me know what you're interested in. Love to talk with you about that. In the meantime, I'm hoping you're finding these videos valuable. If you do, please hit the like button. Share them with your friends if you think they would be valuable. You know how Facebook and Google and Pinterest and all those folks love it when you like it. And if you are, if you have a question or a comment, feel free to write that below. I try to read all of them, respond when I can. So, if you're finding this valuable, I'm hoping it's bringing more clarity, confidence, creativity to everything you do. And I'm hoping you're able to bring more clarity, confidence, and creativity to the questions you are asking going forward. If so, this is valuable. I will look forward to seeing you in the next video.